super excited here in Richmond, about to get into the ring with an old friend of mine, a great fighter, world champion in his own right. Nick, have you ever been so nervous? He's nervous, so let's go in there, let's see. He's probably going to drop me. I'm looking forward to this, so let's go in there and do some moves. Here we are again, season 4, Relentless Life on Your Terms. Interesting episode. Actually sparred before we got in the ring, so if I'm out of breath, I apologize. With a very good friend, an amazing fighter, a world champion in his own right, Nick Tetoros. Nick, thanks for being on the show, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I've been watching your show and listening to all the beautiful podcasts, and thanks for having me on the show.
While he's in great company, we've actually had a lot of other fellow multiple world champions like Nick, sparring partners, opponents. Yes. Now, Nick, you've done a lot in your illustrious career, from winning a world title, which I feel honored to actually be there. I've actually seen a lot of your fights. I was a big fan of you as a fighter.
You're a big fan. You're always in and around the same. Your brother promoted the show.
He did.
Promoted my world title fight. Believed in me. Gave his heart out to me, and for that reason only, I won the world title.
He bought that. Well, I don't know about that. You're very humble. He was always an amazing fighter. Had quite a lot of kickboxing fights, very few defeats.
Yes.
Comes from a family of champions. Your brother was also a great fighter as well in his own right.
Undefeated kickboxer. 14 fights. So Nick, we'll talk a bit about your career. So you won many world titles. So you won many titles across your career. Not many losses. What was the biggest adversity you felt you came up with in the ring? So being a fighter, you're going to go through a lot of them. What was the biggest challenge you had in the ring? The biggest challenge was not competing and not preparing for a particular. I always wanted to be 100% prepared. The most important thing. So I feared no one as long as I was fit and ready to go. And the most important thing was, there was a handful of fighters that I came across, not just one. But like from Shannon Taylor's to Jink Beggs in kickboxing, and you got, sparring partners, a different ball game. But a lot of solid fighters came out of the Melbourne circle and statewide.
We've produced some great world champions, and back in the day, we're actually comparing notes. I'm looking at your walls and reminiscing. We're talking 25 years ago. So many great fighters. So the actual card where you became a world champion, there's like 7, 8 phenomenal fighters. There's at least 4 or 5 world champions on that one poster back then, and it was good. The Melbourne scene was booming. Kickboxing was, would you say it was at its golden years then?
It was
20 years ago?
Absolutely. It was like going to the footy, as everyone was cramming those shows.
So many great trainers as well.
And great promoters. The promoters like your brother and Stan and Christopher Cronus and all the big boys
did some big shows. There was so many of them.
Solak, everyone can put their effort and really push for the big shows and
big promotions
and great events. Great.
Now I wanted to ask you as well, Nick. So who would you say? I know this is a very, very hard question. Who would you say if you were to think who's the top 3 hardest opponents? I know you've had a lot of tough fights. I've physically been ringside and seen him. And the Drenko was one of the best fights I've seen. It was 8 rounds. You won was it a Commonwealth title or a South Pacific you won?
Commonwealth Classic.
It was a phenomenal, one of the best fights I've seen. I remember there's a push kick to the face. Someone dropped. He kept coming back. It was incredible.
Spinning on me.
It was incredible. So who would you say? Top 3?
Well,
toughest fighters that you've come across?
Top 3. Prince Amir was one of them, who was tough and challenging. It was hard to hit
because he was awkward.
It was awkward. But I pushed myself forward and I kept on being the aggressor, and made it a good fight. Made it a phenomenal fight.
Yep. So Prince Nassim Ahmed, who's a phenomenal fighter. Yep.
Yeah, he's in Dubai now. I think he's promoting fights up there.
I didn't know that, but I know he's won. Yeah. He was a very entertaining fighter. The other
amazing. We had Shannon Taylor, was one of them, and the other one would have to be Jink Beggs.
So you've had, and we're talking about his fought likes the same. So you fought, and I was reading up in your bio, as a boxer, you had an amazing record: 20 fights, 17 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, 10 knockouts. That's an incredible record.
Thank you.
You fought very well. Your kickboxing
record was even more
Yeah,
impressive,
it's
funny
very
enough.
impressive,
You only had, I think, 2-3 losses,
Yeah.
1 over 20 wins. Do you know how many knockouts you had in kickboxing? Would you remember, Nick?
50% of them were knocked out.
So it's almost
50%.
identical to your
Yeah,
boxing.
Yeah,
17 wins, 10 knockouts.
yeah, it's knocking them out.
What was the biggest lesson you think from learning from fighting, from training every day now? I know you're very big on routine. You're very big on structure. Why is that important?
It's the way I wake up and I physically I prepare myself, and I'm a better version of myself if I'm up nice and early, get up, drink my water, my fluids, get ready for the day, and
Same routine always?
Yeah, haven't changed ever since for the last 30 years.
Now, your wife said you follow a very strict, pretty routine as well. In the morning, you got a lot of creams as well. Is that why you look so pretty, Nick?
Thank you, man.
It's very structured even with that, apparently.
That's for the viewers to
Determine.
decide.
But you wake up in the morning, you've even got a beauty routine as well.
Wash my face with cold water.
To wake up.
Yeah.
So, and also you went for, I was reading a pre-Olympic trials. Yourself and Shannon went. Tell us a bit about that. You were selected.
There was a group of Olympic components. All the champions had to compete at the Oceania Games back in '91, and then they sent myself and another featherweight, to represent, just in case the champion never won. And so I believe that either one could win. So they had to send 2 out of the same weight class, and I was one. Shannon Taylor was the other one, and he upset me the second time around again. Oh well.
But great fighters.
Yeah,
great fighters.
But that was a good amateur career. That was me as an amateur. But then as a pro, I excelled to more. I had that style. I believe that I was more of a professional boxer. Had that.
Well, to get to number 8 in the world, because you received number 8 was your highest ranking at that stage.
Exactly.
No mean feat, which was fantastic. I'm going to ask you, what was the day that you said, you know what, I'm hanging the gloves up? And obviously now you train a lot of people, so it's always going to be a part of you. What was the day that you said, I'm done?
That's a great question, because a lot of people think, you can fight, but you got nothing to fall back on. At the time, I always loved training people, and I always worked with people. So the fact that I could do something that I so close to fighting, the fact that I can train someone and move around like someone, that means I'll never stop doing what I love.
So basically, even though it was a transition outside of competitive fighting, you're still training, and you're still training people all the time, which is a great gym. We're going to put all the details as well in the comments below. He trains CEOs, so I'm going to bring the team down here as well. I know I've only moved around a bit beforehand. Took it easy on me, but he's going to come back later. I'm sure my team's going to enjoy him watching him bash me, but we will be back. So you're training corporates now, and you're doing that?
Yes, we do a lot of that, yes.
Which is funny. I didn't know that's how you met your wife as well. So how's that, huh?
Yeah, my wife, yeah.
So if you come training, you might even get married here. Is that it?
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. You're like in a big city.
It's happened before.
It's happened before?
It's happened a few times, yeah.
Now, I know we spoke before, and that's why you think mental health is such an important part, and especially with what's been going on with lockdown, fitness is so close to that mental aspect. Being fit actually helps you have a clear, healthy mind. Talk to me, because I know you're passionate about that. Why do you think mental health is so important, and how is it related to fitness?
It's so important in a big way, because you feel so much, you're a better version of yourself. Like I said before, you feel better, you breathe better, you think better. How did you feel after moving around those earlier rounds before?
Beside almost having a heart attack.
Okay.
I loved it. I enjoyed it, but you never feel bad after a workout, and it's always good and
good exercise.
And I think it's nothing's better than releasing those endorphins when you're training.
Yeah.
And I do want to get back into it, but it is, you always feel better. You feel more energetic. You feel younger. You're still more confident. Yeah.
That's great. That's the reason why I used to get along with your brother. Your brother, when I first met Pat, he was like loving training. He was like, "Oh, Nick, what do you think? I'm getting ready for this bloke." That I'd always give him some of my tips, like, "Hey, mate, just keep that routine going. Get up in the morning, do the rounds, do the warm up, do the, it takes time, but you're a better version of yourself if you keep on
sticking to your good routines, making yourself harder.
So hanging out, so champions hanging out with champions, and the most important thing that I'm getting from what you're saying is structure and routine. Because even when you look at fighting, and for a lot of people, there's 4 or 5 punches you got to do 10,000, 100,000 times to be good enough. How many punches is there? Like realistically, there's 4 or 5 big. What is there?
Yeah, lots of same different little routines.
But repetition isn't it? Over and over and over.
That's why we get the corporates in, and they love it. They love getting that routine going, and that's why it's a beautiful thing. If I said to you, hey, would you like to spend half an hour, stretching with me, or would you rather,
go drink or do something that's not healthy?
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's always good.
What would you pick?
Right now, this present point in time, Nick, it's a tough question right now. I'd probably do the half an hour training.
Yeah.
And maybe follow it up with a drink.
Yeah.
And I'll come back. No, look, as I said, fitness has always been, not happy to say, in and out of my life. Since young, I get very fit when I was training and fighting, in and out. But now I put a big focus on mental health is important. I try to meditate and stay mentally sharp for work. But I do realize when I do train, the clarity of my mind's better. I feel better. And it's just, I should put more priority on it, I guess.
That's good. Keep it up because, tomorrow's another day. And
you're going to get me back here again?
Yeah, well, 100%.
I'm looking forward to that. So, Nick, I asked you some big achievements. You're a family man. Obviously, you're married and you've got a little one as well. Yeah. You said being a fighter. So, being a fighter, how do you think what's the parallels? You get down a lot of times and your fight business is the same. What makes you keep getting up? Because there's many, I know I've experienced and I've won 50th of the fighter you ever were. When you're in there and you're copying a few and you're thinking, I might go down here. What's that mental switch to say, hey, I've got to fight back here? What's that fight or flight reaction?
It's your endorphins. It's your mind. It's your mind telling yourself, picking yourself up. Like sometimes I've had out of body experience. It's like
being in the ring.
Like, yeah, I've fought 12 rounds over in Auckland a few times, and man, it's like out of body experience where you just get up and you're like, your head's moving and you're thinking, wow, am I in the right state of mind? But you just got to push through that.
How?
You got to work that.
Is that when you go back to your training and all your routine and all the preparation?
How? You just picture your training and you put and everything combines into that fight. Like you just put everything together. You got to think more sharper in your mind and pick up little things that you need to win.
So inspiration to get back up.
Inspiration to get you back up and gather distance and do the rounds.
Now I know you're a very proud Greek, Nick, and I know you've also seen lots of photos as well, like myself, and I've seen you've got friends that I don't think there's many fighters you wouldn't know. You're obviously in the corner of with George Cambos as well, and you're about to see him fight Devin Haney again for the second time to unify. Yeah. What do you think's going to happen?
I believe, because I know George, and the way I followed it, he fought such an amazing fight when he fought Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, it was a great, incredible fight. Incredible.
Okay. So his last fight with Devin Haney was nothing, not even the same. It wasn't him. It wasn't him fighting.
It's funny because I saw that and I agree.
And I believe he can beat him this time.
I hope so.
I believe that he's got it, and his family and his supporters all believe the same thing. I believe. That's why the show's going on again.
Yeah, I think it's October 16 or 6 or whenever it is. Just look it up. The Cambos fight. It's coming up with Devin Haney. It's an incredible fight. I know all the Greek community get behind every Greek fighter, which is good to see. But we want all of Australia to get behind him as well. He's one of our own.
He is.
And what he's achieved to unify the titles.
He's a great guy. He's had a great journey. He's gone all the way. Like he's in the Philippines now training with Manny Pacquiao and all that.
He's friends with Manny. Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks. Now I know I'm going to mention another great name because I saw on your resume. I absolutely love him. You used to spar with Kostya Tszyu. Tell us a bit about that because he was an amazing fighter.
He was one of our greatest fighters. I believe he was one of our greatest fighters, and he had the phenomenal Tszyu style.
What do you think made him special?
Made him special was his experience, and his ability to box so well. It was an amazing boxer to watch because he could just pop, pop, ping you away.
He was a big bomber too. Yeah, he had that one punch knockout.
He had that beautiful crafty style, and if you try to, the only way you could beat him is if you had like 10 people on you, and you all try to get him at once. Like because he'd be that's the only way you could beat him because he was very sharp and very quick with his hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had the pleasure of a few different days that I had to spar him. Go back to the gym. Spar him again. Next
That's
day,
a pretty big
go back
thing.
to the gym.
Yeah.
And then the last day I sparred him. Last time we sparred, I went 4 rounds with him. And then we said, okay, well, it's his last sparring session for the actual fight. And he went back. He fought in Melbourne. He won his fight. And I was in Vegas years later, and I see Vlad Warden, his manager at the time. He goes, I said, Nick. He goes, you're the guy that Kostya Tszyu broke his hand on.
On his head?
On my head. He's just saying that, I believe. He's just saying that because I got the better of him.
Oh, that's all. But and now he's got 2 up and coming fighters like Reventon used to sponsor. Actually, Tim Tszyu is an amazing fighter, and Nikita.
Yeah,
It's big shoes to fill. Do you think they can follow in their father's footsteps?
Yeah. Tim's doing really well now. I can see Tim because I seen his first pro fight here in Bendigo, and he was amazing. He was nice and sharp, and he's come along the way.
They're cool, calm, without rushing and bloody, and then they're cool, calm, collected killers in the ring.
The boys have got great styles, and they're hard to win. They're hard to beat because they're inside, they're busy.
Yep.
At the same time, they're not getting ahead of themselves, and they're catching you with their sharp
both
boxing
unbeaten
ability.
as well. I'm looking forward to. I hope Tszyu brings the titles back in his next fight. But Nikita, he's just a great fighter, great puncher.
Put Australia back on the map.
Yeah, we will. But we've always been rich in our history as fighters, whether that be kickboxing, boxing. We look at MMA now too. We've got quite a few. We've got Robert Whittaker. We've got Adesanya. We've got Bam Bam. We've got Alex Volkanovski. Currently the number 1 pound for pound fighter. Number one in the world. That's incredible. So, and if you think only a few years ago, there's to have quite a few UFC world champions. We've always been rich in that fighting spirit, haven't we?
We all have been. Yeah, absolutely. We had the best kickboxers 20 years, 30 years ago. Like we had the best fighters. Jeff Fennick, Jeff Malcolm, Jeff Harding. We had the boys up in the Gold Coast. So many hard boys come out of Australia. Yeah.
Well, I hope that continues and that keeps going. Nick,
Jeff Fennick and Lester Ellis. Don't forget.
Lester, of course. Look, and we've probably forgot quite a lot of our legendary fighters. We apologise because there's been so many. We've mentioned only a few.
The fight game it's electrifying now. We got the big fight over in Tim Tszyu's fighting in
Vegas.
Yeah.
To unify again. Can you believe not only Kambosos unified the titles, which was incredible. I think it was the 3rd fight in history to do that. Is that right? 3rd?
Yeah.
And now we've got another Australian fighter on the verge of doing the same thing. That is incredible. And I do think
fighting for all those titles, is he?
Tim Tszyu is fighting for the unified championship. Yeah,
for the first, the second.
I think Kambosos was the 3rd in history to do it.
First in history. Oh yeah.
To unify.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
First Australian,
100%.
Yeah.
I think 3rd in history, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And Tszyu might repeat that feat, which is incredible. Which, it's a really good fight. I hope he does win. But yeah, for the first time, people are saying. Because usually, in my opinion, when I watch him, he's pretty much always the favourite. This will be a tough fight. How do you think it's going to go?
I believe Tim has got what it takes to go up another level. Like, he's been beating everyone, and to say the least,
And beating him comfortably too.
But to be fighting now in Vegas, he'll be jumping out of his skin. He'll be like, he's prepared his whole career, the whole journey since we've seen him in 2005, I think it was, who in
15 probably.
2015,
maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah, 2016.
He's probably how old is he? He's not old. He's 26 or 7, I think.
Yeah,
He's pretty young.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
But
He's got a lot of room for growth.
I think that too, because I look at Kostya Tszyu as one of my favorites, and he's probably one of the best boxers we've had in our time. His record definitely indicates that. Can Tszyu replicate that? He's a cool, calm, and collected fighter if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. No,
Can
I
he
haven't seen him
replicate?
hurt. I haven't seen him hurt. I've seen him get hit a few
His
times.
last fight, he got dropped
Yeah, he got
and
dropped.
came back
Yeah,
like a
well-
champion that he did. But he's just, I've never seen more, just so calm.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah,
phases him.
He's been matched, paired up a lot. His opponents can't reach his level in that sense because the style will clash. But he's got some power.
And we're talking about this before we're on camera, where we've had a few fighters and that we think would win, but they lose because stylistically they just don't match up.
No, you're right.
Why is that, you think? Because let's just say it was
Styles
me and you, and you're a
clash.
much better fighter, and you sometimes see one guy beating the other guy a couple times because stylistically, and we're talking like you look at Tyson Fury, who's 6'9" and whatever, you can't prepare for certain fighters, and he would have to fall in that basket.
Some styles you just can't get, beat. Some styles, you don't have the style to beat your opponent. So it's not happening. It's not possible. It's not.
So a lot of people say styles make fight, which is always
Styles
a lot of
do
people don't
make-
understand that.
Yeah.
Why do you think styles make fight? Because you're an aggressor or an attacker. What?
You can have two great boxers, but they won't look as good because there won't be enough action in the fight.
Because they've got similar styles.
Because your audience, it's what your audience want. They want to see like a struggle, a fight,
Action.
action. So
Yeah.
for that reason, styles don't match.
Do you watch the UFC, Nick? I know you like all fun. Are you a big fan of the UFC?
I like to watch a bit of it. Yeah,
Have you
but
ever
I
done
don't
any
know much
UFC?
about it. I haven't. It was like back when I was fighting.
It was before kind of it got big, yeah?
Yeah, well, there was, if you did something that, in the terms of kicking someone while they're down, it caused a lot of chaos.
Oh, we've seen that
So-
first. That happened in one of your fights, I remember, and then it was an
Yeah.
all-in brawl, yeah.
So that wouldn't happen. Yeah, so for that reason, yeah, you gotta make sure that the
And we see Australians, as
So
we
good.
mentioned too, they're doing fantastic
Oh,
things in the
yeah.
UFC as well.
they're great. They're the boys.
And
Yeah, the boys.
an
The
Australian
Maloney-
is
the
number one
Maloney
pound for
boys.
pound.
The Maloney boys have been doing good.
I've hearing
Yeah.
those names come across me a
Yeah.
few now.
I like the
They're
Maloney
both,
boys.
there's
Yeah.
two boxers, I believe, with that,
Yeah,
right?
two, but Andrew and
Are they big boys? Are they what sort of weight class are they fight?
one's about 57 kilos, I think. 50,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a flyweight. And the other one?
7 kilos. There's featherweight and there's a
Featherweight.
flyweight. Yeah, done really well. They're managed by Bob Arum, and promoted by Bob Arum, and so they've got the right promotion team to take them a long way.
That makes a big difference.
Oh yeah.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to come and train with you? Do you train people one-on-one
Thank
personally?
you. Yeah, I do. I train 1-on-1, 2-on-1, and the more the merrier.
Yep.
We do corporate gigs. We get team groups.
What does a corporate gig look like?
Oh,
So
just
people come in,
take
you
them
go,
on.
you train the whole
Hey,
team in?
Well, a lot of them never put a pair of gloves on. So you just gotta, hey, give them some wraps on, put the hands, the gloves on, get the water close by, just to get them through the. Once they're in your possession, you gotta look after them, right?
Of course. Well,
Give them the silver circuit,
the silver service. I'm going to mention something for a lot of you out there watching this.
Yeah.
This is probably a big selling point to this. He trains the whole company, and then at the end, Nick does a few rounds with your CEO. So if you want to see your CEO do a few rounds with Nick, you're going to want to come and train here. If he's been a bit angry at you or told you off, get him in the ring with Nick and come and train. I know my team's probably going to bring me here, so I look forward to coming back in here and enjoying this. So Nick, it's always tradition and relentless.
Oh,
I'm going to do a bunch of quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
First thing that comes to
Yeah.
mind. If you weren't a fighter or trainer, what would you be doing? What career would you do?
Oh. I'd be a lover, my wife would say.
Lover, but what, something that pays though. What career would you do?
Question. I'd be someone that helps people.
So, like a tradie, someone that's
Yeah.
anything
Yeah,
that's anything
yeah.
involving helping people.
Yeah, helping people.
Because I always ask people, and I know I've known you for a long time, probably 30 years. So could you even imagine doing anything other than fighting or
so, yeah.
fitness?
I couldn't know.
That's what I'm saying,
No.
because people usually here's the answer, but Nick couldn't even come up with it. That's how much he loves what he does. Now,
What's some of the biggest obstacles in your career, and how'd you overcome them? Because you've had a lot.
Well,
Winning a world title and fighting at the highest level in the world, you would have had a lot.
And then going back to fighting 10 rounds overseas,
Yep.
8 rounds, 12 rounds, and not everything being on the same wavelength,
Yep.
like going all the way up and then coming down to a. Well, you need. What's the
biggest obstacle that you've overcame? Is it a loss? Is it changing careers? Is it retiring? What's the biggest challenge you had as a fighter? Was it changing careers?
Changing careers
From boxing to
no,
kickboxing?
more like just obstacle. My world title fight. The fights that I accumulated, like they're the fights that I really want to remember.
Your legacy.
My legacy, yeah, they're the ones that
course.
I love, like the big fights that I had. And
I was fortunate to see a lot of them, so I was very grateful. Now, what's the first thing you think of when you wake up?
It's a beautiful day.
That's great. How do you start your day?
I drink some waters. I have my fluids, and I'm on my way.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Cook my steaks.
Your favorite?
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your worst job you've ever had?
Working as cleaner.
I remember a funny story. I was a cleaner at Stan's old club at Mythos, I remember. A couple of times I had to clean the toilets. That would be up there with mine. Now, if you could share the ring with anyone, past or present, who would you share the ring with? To move a few rounds with?
Yeah.
Dead or alive, who would you share the ring with?
Marvin Hagler.
Marvin. Oh, the great Marvin Hagler. What a swinger.
Yeah.
Now, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Pet peeve. People who don't exercise.
That's why he was hitting me before. There you go. We did find out that juicy nugget. What's something someone doesn't know? I'm quite surprised that he loves eating cake, apparently. Sweets.
Sweets. I mean,
You wouldn't tell looking at him because he's in shape. You could tell probably looking at me. And another thing too,
Ice cream.
he's a great networker, but I think that's his heritage. It's good. He's always been good with people, kind and polite with his time always. Name one book you read or something that you've seen that's positively shaped you.
Yeah, I guess a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of the podcasts.
Is there any favorite one in particular?
Yeah. Relentless.
Oh, that's a great
On
one.
your
Life
terms, baby.
There you go.
On your terms.
Thank you, Nick. We help each other out. We're both Greeks, so this is what we do. We promote each other and we help each other. There you go.
We're there.
Do you have any tats, Nick?
No.
Just all muscle. There you go.
Muscle.
What's one piece of advice, and you've given quite a few that I'm going to probably recite as well, that you want our listeners to take from this podcast?
Make sure you're looking after yourself, and make sure that these things that are going on in this crazy world, keep your spirit up, do what you love, get out there and do it.
So be positive. Mental health is very important in training. If I've got anything from this podcast, it's how important it is to train. Now, who's your hero and why?
Who's your hero?
Someone you look up to?
My hero would be my old trainer, Master Dana.
Master Dana Goodson. He had over 100 champions. Was a legendary trainer of people like Nick. Had more world champions than anyone actually. So the great late Dana Goodson.
The great late
Dana Goodson. When you're not working, how do you spend your free time, Nick?
When I'm not working, I like to spend time with the family.
I'll run into him. You can probably see him on Chapel Street having a coffee with his wife.
Exactly.
I remember one funny story. I ran into Nick one day and he was talking to my father. I'm like, hey, how do you guys know each other for 20 years? Actually friends with my father-in-law. Now, I think I know the answer, Nick. Last question. What's your technique you go when you're super stressed? What do you do to unrelease your stress?
I love to exercise. So, of
course.
Anything.
So basically hitting.
I can train anywhere.
But that's the best de-stress.
That's the best thing.
And you're big on mental health, so that's the best way to get clarity in your mind, isn't it?
And when I can't, exercise, or if I've already exercised, I'll just keep myself occupied with, listening or reading. Yeah, one or the other.
So we're going to share a funny story.
So the funny thing, we were at the fights at the
Cambosos Haney last one, yeah?
Yeah, the audience, the atmosphere was amazing. My wife starts and walks up to a guy starts patting him, and he goes, who are you? Like, Tanya said, you're who? You're Alexandra the Great? Who? Like, she had no idea.
Just for the people out there, we're talking about Alexander the Great Volkanovski, #1 pound for pound UFC fighter.
Tanya's patting him. So really?
And that would have been a good fight. You got Nick versus Alex. but he actually went to a country town.
Yeah.
So one of my closest friends' wife and him grew up together in a country town. I don't think it's not in Albury.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Wollongong.
Wollongong.
He's from Wollongong, and
yeah.
he's a Wollongong boy. So one of my best friends and partners for 30 years, Chris.
Yeah.
His wife and them grew up together, and when they watch him fight, they go, I go, no way, he was a rugby player. And do you know how big he used to be? Over 100 kilos. So when you Google him, he was a rugby player. This guy was massive. Now he's afloat. Have you seen the size of him now? He's 23 or 24 fights. He's only had one loss. He's got a long stretch, and he's #1 pound for pound. So this kid is
bit like
phenomenal.
A bit like Mundine was.
Yeah.
He's a big pound for pound.
No, this guy was So look, if you look him up, so. Hopefully he's got a fight coming up soon. He defends again. I'm sure he will. So good luck, Alex. And it's a funny story. Be careful, Tanya, next time, because you'll have to get Nick back in the ring. For everyone out there, stay happy, stay healthy, stay grateful. I can't tell you what an honor it was to have such a great fighter. Look him up, Nick Tetoros. You'll probably see a few of his YouTube clips. They're very entertaining fights. Thanks for sharing your time with us, Nick, and come
it's a real pleasure. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.